Hello, I'm Dr. Clark. It's a pleasure to speak with you today. So often my patients come to me concerned about their diet, focusing intently on what they eat for breakfast or lunch to manage their health. And that's wonderful. But I have to tell you, what you do in the hours before you go to sleep could be far more dangerous for one of the most vital sets of organs in your body, your kidneys. Many people don't realize that our kidneys don't just shut down when we go to bed. In fact, the night is their crucial work shift. This is when they diligently filter toxins from your blood, balance your body's fluids, and regulate your blood pressure, all while you rest. But many of us have evening habits that sabotage this critical process, turning their repair time into a period of high stress. I remember a patient, Arthur, a retired school teacher in his late 60s. He was doing everything right. He walked every day, ate salads for lunch, and had given up smoking years ago. Yet his kidney function numbers were slowly, but stubbornly, declining. He was frustrated and scared. We sat down and went through his entire day, and it turned out the culprit wasn't his lunch, but his evenings. A heavy dinner right before bed, a couple of glasses of wine while watching the news, and a painkiller for his arthritis. It was a triple threat to his kidneys, night after night. Arthur's story is incredibly common. So today, we are going to uncover some surprising evening mistakes you might be making that secretly damage your kidneys. The good news is that these are habits you can change, starting tonight. Are you one of the millions who eat their largest meal of the day late in the evening? A startling number of adults consume their main meal after 7 p.m., a practice that can place an immense burden on your kidneys. Think of it this way. Your body, including your kidneys, is meant to wind down as the day ends. It's preparing for a period of rest and repair. When you consume a large, heavy meal late at night, especially one high in protein, sodium, and fat, you're essentially forcing your kidneys into overtime right when they're supposed to be going into a lower power mode. Scientifically, this late-night feast causes a spike in your blood pressure and what we call the glomerular filtration rate, or GFR. It is like revving a car engine into the red line for hours when it should be idling in the garage overnight. This sustained pressure can, over years, wear down the delicate filtering units in your kidneys, called nephrons, leading to permanent damage. I had a patient, Margaret, a wonderful woman, who ran a catering business. Her whole life revolved around food, and her habit was to eat a big, rich meal with her husband around 9 p.m. after she closed up shop. She came to me with persistent swelling in her ankles and abnormally high blood pressure readings, particularly in the morning. Her lab work showed the early signs of kidney strain. It was a difficult conversation, but I asked her to try an experiment for just 1 month. Make lunch her main meal of the day and have only a light soup or a small piece of grilled chicken with vegetables for dinner, no later than 7 p.m. The change was remarkable. Within 6 weeks, the swelling in her ankles was gone, and her morning blood pressure had dropped by 15 points. She felt lighter and more energetic. It's a powerful example of how timing is just as important as content. So I ask you, have you ever considered that when you eat might be as crucial as what you eat? A practical step you can take tonight is to swap that heavy lasagna or steak dinner for something lighter. If you feel hungry before bed, try a small apple with a tablespoon of almond butter or a warm cup of caffeine-free herbal tea. It satisfies the craving without tasking your vital organs. Now, let's talk about something many people see as a harmless way to unwind. An evening glass of alcohol. Whether it's a glass of red wine, a beer, or a cocktail, that nightly ritual might be setting your kidneys up for failure. While moderate alcohol consumption can be debated for other aspects of health, its effect on the kidneys, particularly in the evening, is quite clear. Alcohol is a diuretic. In simple terms, it makes you urinate more frequently. This process can lead to dehydration, especially overnight when you aren't replenishing fluids. When you're dehydrated, the blood flowing to your kidneys becomes more concentrated, thicker, and harder to filter. Your kidneys have to work significantly harder to remove waste products like urea from this sludgy blood, putting a direct strain on the nephrons. Furthermore, Alcohol consumption disrupts the natural architecture of your sleep. It might make you feel drowsy initially, but it prevents you from entering the deep, restorative stages of sleep where the majority of cellular repair happens throughout your body. Your kidneys are no exception. They rely on this deep sleep cycle to repair an entire day's worth of wear and tear. I often think of a patient named David, a kind gentleman who enjoyed 2 glasses of brandy every night to help him sleep. He came to me complaining of constant fatigue, morning headaches, and a general feeling of being unwell. His lab tests revealed he was chronically dehydrated and his kidney function was beginning to suffer. He was convinced he was drinking plenty of fluids, not realizing his evening brandy was undoing all his good work. We made a simple pact. For 1 month, he would replace his brandy with a warm mug of chamomile tea with a small spoonful of honey. He was skeptical, but he agreed to try. 2 weeks later, he called me, amazed. He said, "Doc, I'm sleeping through the night for the first time in a decade and I wake up feeling clear." His follow-up lab work confirmed the change. His hydration levels were perfect, and the strain on his kidneys was visibly reduced. So, what can you do? If you enjoy an alcoholic beverage, try to have it earlier in the evening, perhaps with your meal, and be sure to drink a full glass of water alongside it. A fantastic and kidney-friendly evening alternative is sparkling water with a squeeze of fresh lemon or lime and a few crushed mint leaves. It's refreshing and feels like a treat without the dehydrating consequences. Ask yourself tonight, is my evening drink truly helping me relax, or is it just borrowing energy and health from tomorrow? Let's move on to a habit that is incredibly common, particularly for those of us dealing with the chronic aches and pains that can come with age. How often do you find yourself reaching into the medicine cabinet for a painkiller like ibuprofen, naproxen, or aspirin to soothe an aching back or a throbbing knee before you climb into bed? You're not alone. Many people do this thinking they're just ensuring a comfortable night's sleep. But here is the critical truth. While these drugs, known as NSAIDs, can be effective for pain and inflammation, taking them habitually at night can be a quiet menace to your kidneys. Here's the simplified science behind it. NSAIDs work by reducing inflammation, but one of the ways they do this is by constricting blood vessels. This effect isn't just localized to your sore knee, it happens throughout your body, including in the delicate network of vessels that supply blood to your kidneys. During the day, your body is active, your blood pressure is higher, and it can often compensate for this slight reduction in blood flow. But at night, your entire system slows down. Your heart rate drops, your blood pressure naturally dips, and blood flow to the kidneys is already reduced as part of this resting state. When you add an NSAID into the mix, you're essentially clamping down on the kidney's primary supply line for oxygen and nutrients at their most vulnerable time. Over months and years, this repeated nightly reduction in blood flow can starve the kidney tissue, leading to a condition called chronic interstitial nephritis, which is a slow and silent form of kidney damage. I'll never forget my patient, Brenda, a retired gardener with severe arthritis in her hands and knees. To manage the pain, she was taking the maximum over-the-counter dose of ibuprofen every single night, without fail. She thought because it wasn't a prescription, it was harmless. But her routine lab work came back with a sudden, alarming drop in her kidney function. When we connected her nightly NSAID use to the results, she was devastated. The good news is that we caught it. We worked closely with her rheumatologist to devise a new pain management plan that focused on topical anti-inflammatory creams, physical therapy, and using acetaminophen, which works through a different pathway and is less harsh on the kidneys only when absolutely necessary. It was an adjustment, but her kidney function stabilized. This isn't to say you must live in pain. The message here is about awareness and communication. Please talk to your doctor about the medications you take, even the over-the-counter ones. Ask them, is this the safest option for my kidneys, and is nighttime the best time to take it? Sometimes the answer is just finding a better, safer alternative. Now for a habit that many of us are guilty of, the late-night salty snack. The television is on, you're settled into your favorite chair, and that bag of potato chips, bowl of pretzels, or handful of salted peanuts just seems to call your name. It feels like a harmless indulgence, but for your kidneys and cardiovascular system, it's like a pressure bomb. Sodium is the primary actor when it comes to regulating fluid balance in our bodies. When you ingest a large load of salt, your body instinctively holds onto water to dilute the sodium concentration in your bloodstream. This increases the total volume of fluid within your blood vessels. Think of it like a plumbing system. If you force more water through the same set of pipes, the pressure inside those pipes is going to skyrocket. This is exactly what happens to your blood pressure. Normally, when you sleep, your body enjoys a restorative period where your blood pressure naturally dips, dropping by about 10 to 20%. This nocturnal dip is absolutely vital for heart and kidney health, giving them a much-needed break. A late-night salt binge completely sabotages this process. Your body is forced to hold on to fluid, keeping your blood pressure elevated all night long. Your kidneys, which are exquisitely sensitive to pressure, are then forced to filter this high-volume, high-pressure blood for hours on end. This sustained hypertension is one of the leading causes of chronic kidney disease. I had a patient, George, a long-haul truck driver who was struggling with borderline high blood pressure. His medication didn't seem to be working as well as it should, and he always felt puffy and bloated in the mornings. We had him keep a detailed food diary, and the pattern was undeniable. He ate well on the road, but every night when he got home, he would decompress with a large bag of salted jerky and roasted nuts. He was consuming over 2,000 milligrams of sodium, nearly a full day's worth, in the 2 hours before bed. The solution was simple, but not easy. We swapped his salty snacks for healthier alternatives. He started snacking on crunchy carrots and celery with hummus, unsalted almonds, or an apple. Within a month, his stubborn high blood pressure became manageable, and he told me he no longer woke up feeling like the Pillsbury Doughboy. So I urge you, take a look at your own evening habits. Are you reaching for a salt-laden snack out of habit? Try a handful of walnuts, a few cherry tomatoes, or even a small bowl of plain Greek yogurt instead. Your kidneys will thank you for it every single morning. We've discussed alcohol and salt, but there's another culprit hiding in plain sight in our evening beverages: sugar. I'm not just talking about sodas or sweet tea. I'm talking about things people often perceive as healthy, like fruit juice, flavored yogurts, or even that comforting hot chocolate. Consuming a large dose of sugar, particularly in liquid form, before bed sends a shock wave through your metabolic system that directly impacts your kidneys. When you drink something like a glass of apple juice, you are consuming a highly concentrated load of sugar, primarily fructose, without any of the fiber that would normally accompany it in a whole apple. This sugar is absorbed rapidly, causing a dramatic spike in your blood glucose levels. Your pancreas then has to work overtime to pump out insulin to manage this sugar rush. Doing this night after night can lead to insulin resistance, a condition where your cells stop responding properly to insulin. This is the direct pathway to developing type 2 diabetes, which is, without question, the #1 cause of kidney failure in the United States. High blood sugar is like poison to the delicate blood vessels in the kidneys, causing them to scar and harden over time until they can no longer filter waste. I remember a patient, a lovely woman named Susan, who was pre-diabetic. She was meticulous about avoiding desserts, but her blood sugar was always highest in the morning. She was frustrated and confused. We discovered she was drinking a large 12-ounce glass of orange juice every single night before bed, believing it was a healthy source of vitamin C. I gently explained that her healthy glass of juice contained more sugar than a can of cola and was the primary reason for her morning sugar spikes. It was a complete shock to her. We made a simple but powerful change. She replaced the juice with a mug of caffeine-free peppermint tea or a glass of water infused with a few slices of cucumber and lemon. This single swap eliminated that nightly sugar tsunami. Her morning blood sugar readings normalized within a week, taking a massive strain off her pancreas and, by extension, her kidneys. So I ask you to become a detective. Look at the nutrition labels on your favorite evening drinks and snacks. How much added sugar is hiding in your nightly routine? You might be absolutely astonished. Choosing water or herbal tea is one of the kindest things you can do for your kidneys before you turn in for the night. Now, this next habit may seem counterintuitive, especially if you're concerned about waking up in the middle of the night. Are you deliberately avoiding water in the evening hours? So many of my patients confess to this. They'll say, "Doc, I stopped drinking anything after 6 p.m. because I can't stand having my sleep interrupted." I understand that logic. I truly do. A full night's rest is precious. However, this strategy of intentional evening dehydration can be incredibly perilous for your kidneys. Remember, the primary function of your kidneys overnight is to filter waste products out of your blood and concentrate them into urine. To do this job safely and effectively, they need a sufficient amount of water to work with. Think of it like washing a very muddy car. If you only have a tiny spray bottle of water, all you can do is create a thick, abrasive sludge. But if you have a steady stream from a garden hose, you can easily rinse all the dirt and grime away. It's the same with your kidneys. When you don't drink enough water in the evening, your urine becomes highly concentrated with waste products like urea, calcium, and oxalate. This super-concentrated urine can not only irritate the delicate lining of your kidneys and bladder, but it also creates the perfect environment for these minerals to crystallize and form painful kidney stones. I once treated a gentleman named Robert who was plagued by recurrent kidney stones. The pain was so intense that he lived in constant fear of the next episode. In our consultation, he told me his strict rule: no liquids of any kind after 4 p.m. He was, in effect, creating the very problem he was desperate to avoid. He was so focused on preventing nighttime urination that he was manufacturing kidney stones in his sleep. We had to completely reframe his approach. The goal isn't to dehydrate yourself, it's to time your hydration intelligently. The solution we found was simple. He continued to drink water steadily throughout the day, but we specifically scheduled his last 8-ounce glass of water for about 2 hours before his bedtime. This gave his body ample time to process the fluid and for him to use the restroom one final time before turning in. He was still providing his kidneys with the critical hydration they needed for their overnight shift, but without the immediate urgency that would wake him a couple of hours later. This small timing adjustment was life-changing for him. He hasn't had a kidney stone since, so please, don't starve your kidneys of water in the evening. Listen to your body's thirst. A sensible glass of water an hour or two before bed is one of the most protective things you can do. Let's talk about an almost universal habit in our modern world. What is the very last thing you look at before you close your eyes at night? For most people, it's the glowing screen of a television, a tablet, or a smartphone. It seems harmless, a way to catch up on news or relax with a game. But this habit has a powerful, indirect, and scientifically proven negative effect on your kidney health through its disruption of your sleep. The connection might not be obvious, so let me explain. The bright, blue spectrum light emitted from these electronic screens sends a powerful signal to your brain that it's still daytime. This directly suppresses your brain's production of melatonin, the essential hormone that tells your body it's time to sleep. When melatonin is suppressed, it becomes harder to fall asleep, and more importantly, the quality of your sleep suffers dramatically. You spend less time in the deepest, most restorative stage of sleep, known as NREM Stage 3. This is not just deep sleep, it is the critical period when your body performs the vast majority of its cellular maintenance and repair. Think of it as the body's cleanup and construction crew, and they only work the night shift. During this phase, your kidneys are actively repairing the micro damage that occurred during the day's work of filtering 200 liters of blood. Furthermore, poor sleep throws other critical hormones out of balance. It can lead to higher levels of stress hormones like cortisol and can disrupt the hormones that regulate your blood pressure, causing it to stay elevated throughout the night instead of taking that healthy dip we discussed. I had a patient, Diane, who was struggling with both hypertension and insomnia. She would lie in bed for hours, scrolling through news articles on her tablet, thinking it was helping her wind down. In reality, she was sabotaging her body's ability to rest and repair. Her elevated blood pressure was putting a constant strain on her kidneys. My prescription for her wasn't another pill, it was a digital sunset. I instructed her to turn off all screens, the TV, the computer, the tablet, the phone, at least 1 hour before her intended bedtime. She was to create a sanctuary of calm. She replaced her tablet with a paperback novel and read under a dim, warm-colored lamp. It was a struggle for the first few nights, but then, a breakthrough. She began sleeping more deeply and waking up feeling more rested. And guess what? Her blood pressure readings started to improve. The better sleep allowed her body's natural regulatory systems to function properly, taking a significant load off her kidneys. So ask yourself, could the key to protecting your kidneys be as simple as trading that screen for a printed page tonight? After you've finished your evening meal and cleaned the dishes, what is your immediate next move? For so many of us, the natural instinct is to collapse onto the sofa or into a comfortable armchair and remain there until it's time to go to bed. While rest is important, this prolonged period of inactivity after your last meal can create metabolic problems that add stress to your kidneys. You see, a little bit of gentle movement after dinner can make a world of difference. It doesn't have to be a strenuous workout. A slow 15-minute walk around the neighborhood or even some simple indoor stretches can have profound benefits. Here's why. First, it aids in digestion and helps regulate your blood sugar. When you move your muscles, they draw glucose from the bloodstream for energy. This helps prevent the sharp spike in blood sugar that can follow a meal, especially one containing carbohydrates. As we've learned, these blood sugar spikes, night after night, are incredibly damaging to the small blood vessels within the kidneys. Second, gentle movement improves overall circulation. It ensures that a steady supply of fresh oxygenated blood is delivered to all your organs, including your kidneys, helping them function optimally as they head into their nighttime repair cycle. I run a wellness workshop for seniors, and a common thread among participants with early signs of metabolic issues, like borderline high blood pressure and elevated blood sugar, was a completely sedentary evening routine. We introduced a simple challenge, a mandatory 15-minute post-dinner stroll and stretch. The goal wasn't weight loss or athletic performance, it was simply to break the habit of going from the dinner table directly to the couch. The results were astounding. Participants reported better digestion, less evening bloating, and more stable morning blood sugar readings. They felt more energetic, not less. The simple act of moving gently tells your body to use the fuel you just consumed, rather than just storing it and letting it cause metabolic chaos. It's an easy habit to start tonight. After dinner, instead of immediately turning on the television, put on your shoes and take a leisurely walk. Notice the evening air. If the weather is poor, stand in your living room and do some simple stretches. Reach for the ceiling, then gently try to touch your toes. Do some slow torso twists. Put on some soft music and just sway for a few minutes. What is one small, gentle movement you could promise yourself you'll do after dinner tonight? This simple addition to your routine can pay huge dividends for your long-term kidney health. Finally, let's address a situation that is very common, but often unspoken. It's the middle of the night, you're warm in your bed, and you feel that unmistakable signal from your bladder. What do? Do you get up and go, or do you try to ignore it, roll over and force yourself back to sleep, hoping the feeling will pass? I can tell you from countless conversations with my patients that many try to hold it. The reasons are understandable. It's disruptive, the floor might be cold, or there may be a fear of falling in the dark. But making a habit of ignoring this urge is a significant risk to your urinary tract and, by extension, your kidneys. Here is why. Your bladder is a holding tank for urine, which is not just sterile water. It is a solution filled with metabolic waste products and toxins that your kidneys have worked hard to filter from your blood. When you allow urine to sit in your bladder for extended periods, you create a stagnant, warm environment that is an ideal breeding ground for bacteria. This can lead to a urinary tract infection, or UTI. While a simple bladder infection is treatable, it's not something to be taken lightly, especially as we age. If a UTI is not addressed promptly, or if you suffer from them recurrently, the bacteria can travel up the ureters from the bladder and infect the kidneys themselves. This is a much more serious condition called pyelonephritis, which can cause fever, severe pain, and can lead to acute kidney damage. Repeated infections can cause permanent scarring on the kidneys, which impairs their ability to function over the long term. I once cared for a patient, Eleanor, a wonderful woman in her 80s who was experiencing one UTI after another. She was on a repeating cycle of antibiotics and was becoming quite frail. We couldn't find a clear medical reason for the recurrence until she quietly admitted to me that she was afraid of getting up at night. She had poor vision and had tripped over a rug a few months prior, so she would deliberately hold her urine until morning. Her fear was completely valid, but her solution was causing this cycle of infection. The answer wasn't to tell her to ignore her fear, it was to solve the problem that caused it. Her family installed motion-activated nightlights in her bedroom, the hallway, and the bathroom. They cleared the path of all potential tripping hazards. These simple, practical changes made her feel safe again. She started getting up when her body told her to, and just like that, her recurrent UTIs stopped completely. So please, listen to your body's signals. If there is something making you hesitate to use the bathroom at night, address that root cause. Your health depends on it. So, after all this information, what does a truly kidney-protective evening look like? It might sound like a lot to remember, but it can be broken down into a simple routine. Let's call it the Evening Kidney Protection Plan. First, prioritize meal timing. Aim to eat a lighter, low-sodium dinner at least 3 hours before you plan to go to sleep. Second, hydrate smartly. Avoid alcohol and sugary drinks entirely in the evening and have your last glass of water 1 to 2 hours before bed. Third, have an open conversation with your doctor about your medications. Review everything, including over-the-counter painkillers, to ensure you are taking them in the safest way possible for your kidneys. Fourth, incorporate gentle movement. A simple 15-minute walk or some light stretching after dinner does wonders for your metabolism. And fifth, create a digital sunset. Turn off all electronic screens an hour before bed to allow your body to produce the melatonin needed for deep, restorative, kidney-repairing sleep. I want to leave you with the story of George, the gentleman who loved his salty evening snacks. When we identified this pattern, he took this evening protection plan to heart. He started eating his main meal earlier. He replaced the jerky and salted nuts with a small bowl of berries and plain yogurt. He started taking a walk around the block with his wife after dinner. It became a new, healthier ritual for them. The results were nothing short of profound. In just 6 weeks, his morning blood pressure was consistently in the healthy range. The puffiness in his hands and face was gone, and his kidney filtration numbers, which we had been watching with concern, actually improved. It was a tremendous victory, proof that these small intentional changes can make a life-altering difference. You have the power to protect your health, and it can start tonight. Of all the habits we discussed, which one surprised you the most? And more importantly, what is one small change you feel you can commit to making starting this evening? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Reading through them helps the entire community learn. If you found this information valuable, I sincerely invite you to subscribe to the channel. My goal is to provide clear, science-backed information to empower you on your journey to healthy aging. Thank you for spending this time with me. Be well.